Okay, well, thanks for the kind words and the nice introductions, and many thanks for that. Many thanks for having me today for this webinar. A couple of things before we start. If you have any questions, anything you want to have clarified, please do put it in the chat, and Zual and Sena no doubt will let me know, and then we can have a conversation about it as we go along. The presentation I'm going to share, I presume I'm not sharing it yet, is that correct? Or can you see it?
We can see your presentation.
You can see my presentation? Okay, that's fantastic. So I'll start from here. So today I wanted to talk to you about virtual tools in physical classrooms. Yeah, so what kind of online tools are at our disposal when we teach in a face-to-face situation, and also having trying to consider why would we use certain tools in specific situations in the classroom. I tried in the title to put some sort of contradiction when we talk about virtual tool in a physical classroom, just to bring out the specific characteristics that make online tools really useful in the classroom. Today's seminar will take place on Slack. Slack is one of the tools I wanted to talk to you about. And so instead of presenting Slack as a tool, I thought I put my presentation on Slack. And doing that, you should be able to start gaining some appreciation of what the tool can do for you if you're interested to look further into it. In fact, I've called up the slides you see now. I've called them up from Slack, and the URL you see here has been sent out, I believe, to all participants. So if you haven't done so yet, it would be great if you could join Slack. You can join it from any device, so whether it's a Microsoft Android or iOS device, and if it's a laptop or indeed a mobile phone. And here is how Slack looks like. It is a communication collaboration tool, and we're going to look at those aspects a bit in more detail later on. For the moment, I just wanted to point you out to the fact that on the left-hand navigation bar, we have several channels. Those channels are all part of a workspace called, in this case, I called the workspace Üsküdar webinar. And here I added lots of different channels. The channel in an educational setting, imagine the channel being a project you're running, or perhaps a subject you're teaching, or only a specific class. And these channels would then include participants of the specific activity. So for this purpose, all of you are participants in all of my channels. And at the moment, we're looking at the channel Online Tools in the Physical Classroom. And this is where the presentation is posted. So anytime you want to come back, you can always come back to this channel and call up the presentation. That's the first initial introduction to Slack, and we'll get to it a bit later on in more detail. So what I wanted to cover today are mainly three things. First, I wanted to give you a bit of a background as to why I chose the tools I've chosen and how I have chosen them. Then I wanted to give you a bit of a theory, a very little theory of how online tools could be used in the classroom, and I'd be very interested to hear from you if you've got your own experiences, your own points of view, and if you could share those as well. And finally, and I think the biggest part will actually be hands-on exploration of tools. So I will let you play around with a variety of tools and try those out as we go along. As I was saying before, it's important that we get your points of view as well, because if you could see your experience on tools. And so both in Slack, you have the opportunity to put your feedback in there. Just go into any of the channel, and there's different tools we present today, and then just let us know what you think about it. And in fact, we're going to add a channel for other tools. And I'm going to do that now, just to show you how easy it is to add a channel. I go on channels, click on the plus, say create a channel. And now the channel has got a hashtag in front, and I'm going to call it additional online tools. And the description is, in this case, I want it to be please let us know of any other tool you currently use or you would like to use in the near future. Okay. I have the opportunity to make it private. I won't make it private because I want everybody to participate. And I create a channel. And I will automatically have anyone added who is taking part in this webinar. Yeah. So you can all contribute to this channel now. And you see, it tells me what happens today. And it tells me who just joined. And in this channel, additional online tools, I would like you then, as you go along, add any experience of tools you've had or any tools you would like to discover in the near future. That's one way for us to gather feedback from you. A different way to gather feedback as well outside Slack would be, for instance, in the Padlet. I need to go. This is a Padlet I've created, and I believe you have or you will receive the URL to this Padlet. And here, if you want to leave your feedback here, for instance, just go to any of these columns and add your feedback on tools and usage models, any questions or hints you may have, and add them here. So that's useful for us as well to gather feedback from this session. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. And let me start explaining about the rationale of how and why we selected this topic of virtual tools. So I've mentioned it just before. Education is now, online teaching now is back in fashion. Yeah, it's difficult, challenging times. And what happened is we had to adjust, to adapt, and online teaching seemed to be a natural way of adapting to the current situation. What this also means is that from what I could see is a lot of companies in and around the education world made lots of content and tools available for schools and for teachers. And so the average school had been bombarded, literally bombarded with information and advertisement of the tools, the best tool ever, you know, the best resources ever, all free online during coronavirus. And the problem that created obviously was with so much to choose from, you know, what are the best tools for me to use in the classroom? And so that was some thinking behind it. Let's look at a few examples of what we could use. The second important point here is this is not a sales pitch. Yeah, so I'm not representing any technology. I'm totally agnostic. I work a lot on Microsoft and on Android. I don't have much access to iOS, but I find them to be equally good. I wouldn't prefer one over the other. And so we will not look at proprietary tools such as Microsoft Suite, G Suite for Google, and the iOS Suite for Android. If we wanted to do that, that's a conversation we would have to have apart, and we could look at organizing something in that direction. The tools that we chose today are either free or freemium. Freemium meaning they're free to a certain point, and if you want a higher spec of the tool, you have to pay. Yeah. So it's only tools that are either free or available on a freemium basis, where the freemium basis, the free basis, has to be good enough to be used in a classroom. And these were the conditions for tools to be selected today. Now, there are thousands of tools out there, as I said before. I couldn't have gone through all of them, but we picked a few that we thought may be of interest. Yeah. So I'm not endorsing anything. I'm not saying they're better than anyone else, but I'm just saying these are good tools that are worth looking into, and maybe you get ideas for further tools, further usage, and so forth. And the third point behind the rationale here is we could subdivide tools in two categories. One is to managing the learning teaching experience. So typically that would be your communication tool, the tool that allows you to record registry, for instance, or tools that enhance the learning activity. Yeah, so that's tools that allow you, allow the learner to be interactive on the screen and to gather some information and to expand the knowledge, for instance. However, once I started looking at the tools, I also realized in a lot of cases there's some overlap, where the managing teaching experience, enhancing the learning activity actually go hand in hand in some of those tools. And I think this is an interesting and important distinction to bear in mind. Okay, can I just check if there are any questions so far?
There's no question in the chat section, but if our teachers have questions, they can write or they can use their microphones to ask.
Yep.
I guess there's no questions for now.
Okay, so I go on, and if there are any questions, just interrupt me. That's fine. Thank you. Okay, so let's have a look at then the boring part, the theory, just a bit of theory. Okay, so why should we use online tools in school? So when we are in the classroom, physically present with the kids, why should we use online tools? I've come up with two ideas why we should use them. First idea is the online tool allows us to bridge the activity across learning spaces. So we can start an activity in the classroom and learners can continue it at home or in the library or outdoors. And then we can continue again when they're back in the classroom. So it helps us to bridge the activity, helps us to bridge the spaces. So some sort of extension across time and across spaces. And online tools are useful for that. The other important aspect as well that comes with it is to spacing out learning activities over time. So research has shown that the quality of learning, the learning outcomes are improved if we don't learn everything in one big intensive spurt, but we are able to break it down and to repeat it over several times. So in a way, the way the research shows is we want to learn something, acquire new knowledge, and then give us some time to forget about it. And then learn it again. So we kind of force ourselves to recall information from our brain and then have it sitting deeper in our memory and being able to deal with it in a better way. So and that's how research has shown that if we organize learning that way, it leads to better learning outcomes. And online tools help us to do that because whatever we do in an online tool will stay there. It can be called up anytime, anywhere. So these are two ideas I've come up with why we could use online tools in school. Now, I would like you to come up with other ideas, think of other ideas, and to do that on Slack, I have put up a poll. Why should we use tools in our classrooms? So what I would like you to do is to go on Slack in the channel Online Tools in the Physical Classroom, and the first poll made by with an app called Polly. Why should we use online tools in our classroom? So you go here, you click on Submit Response, and then you start writing whatever you think is reasonable. Those who have access to Slack, and I hope it's a majority of you, if not all of you, could you go and have a start submitting responses, and then we can view the responses as they're coming up. Unfortunately, there's no results yet. Okay, the first one, so Senna, thank you. First one has come in. Any more? No, nobody wants to answer anymore?
We have an answer in the chat section.
Okay.
Our teacher Nevra said to use time more effectively.
We have two more.
2 more. Okay, let me see. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, great. Yeah, I needed to. Okay, I didn't mind yours. Okay, that's great. So, and that's great. And this is one way you could also use Slack, for instance, to interact with your students to check for understanding. Yeah, and to see how they contribute to the discussion. You could open a discussion here and so forth. So, well, and now we'll get back to the polls in a moment. Okay, thanks for that. So, this is why we should use online tools. Yeah, it gives us some benefits. And so once we decided, okay, we definitely want to use online tools. And another question is, what is a good tool? What tool do we want to use? What's a good tool? And so, what makes a good tool? So one of the most important things as a teacher, you know, is time. Yeah, time is always short. So you want the tool to work straight away. You don't want to think to have to set it up to check that everything is fine, that everybody's got access to it. You want it to work. You just press a button and it works. Like switching light on. Yeah, you don't think about all the physics that go behind the fact that now electricity goes up to the light bulb. You just want it to work. That's the most important thing, I guess. Another important aspect is you want learners to be engaged. And what I mean with sensors here is that if you play a computer game, you're engaged, yeah, but you're really fixated on that game and not much more. So you want engagement that goes beyond just what is on the screen. You want some engagement that can arouse passion, interest, for instance, curiosity, that can help you connect different aspects, different concepts that you're learning about. Any tool that allows real-time interaction, apologies for this. Any tool that allows for real-time interaction really has an advantage over other tools because it keeps that engagement going. It's not something perceived as boring, but also it helps in the learning process where you can start creating knowledge as well and contributing to the learning process. And also, ideally, we would like something that boosts creativity. Yeah. So, for instance, you may have some music apps, you may have some art app, and so forth. And we're going to look at something similar in a moment as well, where it goes beyond to just simple, normal consumption of information and trying to get some knowledge, some learning out of it. So these are a few characteristics I came up with. And again, just to get you used to the poll, I have set up another poll. Okay, I'm sure I had another poll. Okay, yeah. What are the characteristics of a good online tool? Yeah. And again, if you could, I would like you to submit a response. Just put a few ideas you may have on what makes a good online tool. I'm just going to add one. Ideally, it's free to use. Yeah. Education establishments don't really have a lot of money to spend on IT. IT is always expensive, so it'd be a good idea. If it's free, it's better. Any other ideas? Any other characteristics you'd like to mention? Yeah, not complicated while trying to use it. Absolutely easy to use. Yeah, all those things that save us time. Yeah, so that the complication and the technical knowledge comes up often. We, I think at the next slide, we're going to talk a bit about that. If I may just scroll it up. So just moving a bit from theory to praxis, and this is the last slide on just theoretical knowledge, if you want. How do we? Okay, so we've chosen the tools. We've seen how we wanted to choose the tools, and now the question is, okay, how do we put those tools in practice? How do we do that? And I've come up with a few steps, not necessarily comprehensive, and there may be a few gaps, and you may want to add a few more later on. But I thought this is a good start. This covers a bit the way we then implement those tools we've chosen into real life, into a practice example in the classroom. Some of these steps mentioned here may sound very obvious, but by experience and observation, I can say that they're not always all implemented, and some of them often actually are not implemented at all, even though they sound obvious. So the first, for instance, including the tool you want to choose in a plan, in a detailed plan, typically is not done, or not done in detail enough. We need to know, ideally we would want to know beforehand, when are we going to use a tool, when are we not going to use the tool, what is the tool good for, what it isn't good for, and how long are we going to use it for. And then there's all the resources around it that I may need to secure. So if a tool only works online, I need to make sure that I will have, or will be somewhere where I have access to the internet. Otherwise, there's no point having it. It's also good to know what skills are needed on my side, on the learner side, and what new skills will they acquire, because that may be important for the learning outcomes, for the curriculum, and subjects and topics you want to cover, obviously. Also, plan for potential issues. If something goes wrong, you need to know, okay, what's the alternative? Can I cover what I wanted to cover with something else, or if the tool falls away, I'm unable to teach that lesson? And that's something you want to put in the plan. And once you've got in the plan, step 2, you have to convince yourself that it's the right thing to do. Now, this is one of those steps I said before that sounds very obvious. But often in my career, I've encountered cases where technology was being used because it was being used by others. So why are you using it? Oh, everybody does it. Yeah. And that's a good rationale to use technology, to use a tool in the classroom. If you're not really convinced about the tool, you're better off not using it than to use it. The communication strategy may be of more or less importance, but the last aspect, the channel conflict, is crucial. So typically, if you use a tool that nobody else uses in their school, it's good manners, and it's also, from a practical point of view, useful to let other stakeholders know we're going to use this tool. Yeah. Ideally, you may also want to let parents know, so there is always a bit of fear, of apprehension on the side of parents if their kids use tools. Let them know we're using this tool for school. This is why we're using it. This is how this tool can be used, so that we explain to everyone and remove the apprehension that may be around it. While you do that, make sure you document good practices. So show how it leads to better learning outcomes. Write it down. If you have a blog, put it on your blog. If you contribute to journals, to magazines, write it down. Send in an article. Show how it works, so that others can share and feedback as well. Now, the last point here in the communication strategy is the channel conflict. So I'll give you an example. If we're going to use Slack to communicate to each other, and the school has a policy to use email to communicate to each other, we should avoid sending the same message both channels, or sending a message in one channel that only half of the population is using. So if we have a group, for instance, in this case, the ISCUDA webinars, say, okay, from now on, all the communication about this webinar will be on Slack, and we'll make sure that everybody knows about that. We ensure there's no gap and no duplication of information. This is important, and very often it's missed out. The next step is about the interactivity of the tool. So some tools may have more or less interactive features. I think what's always important, though, is 2 things that you can do in the classroom that are not nothing to do with the tool. One is always write the activity on the board in the front, whether it's a blackboard or a whiteboard at the front of the room. This means that the pupils are physically still in the room, and they still have to concentrate on their physical presence. Yeah, so their engagement is really in the classroom, not on the screen. And by updating information on the board, you make sure they keep the concentration as well outside the screen. And the other good thing to do is to create groups. And when you create groups, create information gaps. which means don't tell everybody all the information they need to know. Distribute the information so that groups then have to interact with each other to find out more. So don't feed them everything, just feed them the bare minimum, don't feed them all the same thing. So you create some dynamics where knowledge starts circulating in the classroom, and that boosts interactivity. And that's nothing to do really with online tools, but that's how you can maximize the benefit of the online tools. Now, we mentioned before the technical difficulties, always a bit of apprehension, always a bit of a worry. I guarantee you, if you let your pupils find out about the tool they're using, they will find all the functionalities. They will become your IT support. You won't need to worry about that. This is important because if we use a tool that is not embedded in the official LMS of the school, most likely the IT support you have at school will not be able to help you because they've not been trained on that tool. So either you become an expert yourself, or you allow your pupils to become experts and they will be able to help you. And finally, step 6 is about recording what you do. So track and trace activities. There are features in some tools, there are features to a certain extent that allow to capture feedback, to monitor what's been going on. But for instance, a very basic technologies, you could use screenshots. So whenever people reach a certain milestone, say, okay, now take a screenshot, put it in the Word document and comment on it. And that way you create a log of the learning activity. And that's useful for you when you go back over the course, when you want to track the learning experience of the pupils, but also you want to see how did my lessons work, were there any difficulties or any weak points. And if you frequently ask for feedback and you document it, you will be able to feed that feedback into your next series of lessons using the same tool. So it helps you for the future as well as to look back on what's going on in the classroom. Okay, this was the last very boring slide. Are there any questions at this stage?
No, I don't think there's any question.
Okay. Okay, so now we're now going to explore tools. And as I said before, we started with Slack. Can I ask how many of the participants knew about Slack before this webinar? Just yes or no answer would suffice. This one, no. Just to gauge a bit of understanding. Okay, it looks like the no's are in majority, unless the yes are keeping quiet. Okay, so let me just get up my information here as well. Okay, thanks for that. I'll assume, oh, well, Sam knew about it. That's great. So you'll be able to correct me if I get something wrong. That's good. So why did we want to talk about Slack? What's interesting about Slack is really it was a piece of software developed by a gaming software company who were working on a specific game, and they thought we need a better tool to collaborate across different space at different times. Developers need to collaborate, and they need a tool where all the communication, everything they say and do about this project is in one place. And so they came up with this idea, they created this solution called Slack, and it then became the bigger thing. So then Slack itself became the product that the company started developing and selling on a freemium basis. It is really, it has been created, so we need to be always aware of that. It has been created for work and collaboration at work, for project management specifically. It has not been created for educational purposes. Later on, somebody latched on the idea, say, oh, we could use this if we will work on projects in school, for instance. And so it's used quite a lot in high school, especially in university, a bit less in K-12 pre-secondary establishments. The advantage for students, though, to work on Slack as opposed to, say, the common LMS you may have, one of the advantages is that students will learn to use a piece of software, a tool that's actually used in the real-life workplace experience as well. So some of you may be on a Blackboard or on a Modo or on a Moodle LMS, but once they enter the world of work, they're unlikely to find those LMSs. Whereas Slack at the moment looks like it's here to stay, so they may, may garner some experience in something that's useful now in the workplace. So that's a good thing to have. What I find very interesting about Slack is the creation of specific messaging groups that I showed you before on channels. So Slack, it really is about communication and task management. And if you look at communication and task management, that's teaching. So teaching a specific way to communicate. And as a teacher, you have to manage tasks. You have to manage groups. You have to manage students. You have to manage tasks. And so from that point of view, I think Slack is a very good fit for education. Different functionalities you may have in Slack, you can send files to each other. So if you have a file of 500 megs, you don't want to send it by email. Yeah, you send it by Slack. You can also search for files on Slack. Makes it a lot easier. Have everything there, everything in one place, and everything easy to find. One of the biggest advantages, though, of Slack is that it can integrate over 1,500 apps. Yeah, and that includes chat, includes video calls. You have an app. We look at it in a moment. You could add a Zoom app there, and then have a Zoom meeting from Slack. So the beauty of Slack really was thinking. Well, some of us communicate on WhatsApp. Some of us communicate on Skype, and then we may miss messages. But if you put everything on Slack, we'll have all the communication in there. Now, I get some feedback that you may not be hearing me okay. Is that the case, or can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well, but I don't know about other teachers. Can you hear our teacher well? I guess there's no problem.
Okay, fine. If there is, just let me know. If there is, let me know. Just let me call. Okay. Now, you see here, when I said 1,500 apps, I had to put an asterisk, and I have to remind ourselves, Slack, it comes in a freemium base. So the basic offer is free, and then the more you pay, the more functionalities you get. So if we want to go for the free version, we only get 10 apps to integrate to Slack. I would say 10 is plenty in an education setting. I would be happy with that. Just to show you how do we add apps. So again, I'm on USQ webinar. That's my workspace. Here are all the channels I've put up. And now I go the section that says app. Yeah, apps. Now I want to add an app. For instance, I added the Polly app, which is the poll that you answered before. You see, I have the Zoom app. Yeah, and I can call a Zoom meeting with my participants. I could set up a Zoom meeting now with all of you from here. Yeah, but I can also add other apps. Let's see. Any idea of an app you would like to see here? Let's see if I haven't tested this. Whether we have WhatsApp here. No, we don't have apps. WhatsApp, we have different applications similar. Any idea of an app you would like to search? Okay. Finance. Yep.
Skype, maybe.
Sorry, what was that?
Skype, maybe.
Skype. Okay, sorry, I couldn't. Oh yeah, so I can add Skype. So let me do that. I'll add Skype now. Obviously, it tells me what it is, so it could categories and so forth. Thinking about it, and then I confirm. Yes, I added to Slack. So it's been added. And now if I go here, it should actually show it. Or do I need to refresh? He hasn't added it. Why not? I don't need to say, sorry, that's probably why. Added. It's been saved. And it should appear. It still doesn't show. I wonder why. That's strange because all the other apps really went there quite easily. So maybe if I log in or log out, but it should work. I only have 4, so should they be able to add another 6? And there's different apps that I've already put in here, and it works quite easy. You just add it, and it's on your Slack, which then means that everybody on this workspace can use the same apps that we just added here.
Dany, one of our teachers asked about EBA. EBA is the Minister of Education's Education Information Network, but I think it's not there.
Okay, what's the name?
Can you see from the chat? EBA.
Yeah. EBA.
EBA.
Like this, yeah? No. Interesting as well, I wanted to show you something on the settings. Let's see, again, workspace settings. I can choose several languages. Yeah. Unfortunately, Turkish is not there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I have other languages, even Mandarin Chinese, Spanish, German, and so forth, but we don't have Turkish. I would say we don't have it yet. I think if the usage base in Turkey grows, they probably would be looking into localizing it. So that's something as well to bear in mind. At the moment, you would only have it in English. If it's a problem to collaborate with peers or to collaborate with students, then obviously that would be a bit of a hurdle to overcome. Okay, so let me close this. And let's go back to, and I need to call up my information here. Okay. Now, other reasons why Slack could be useful for us. So we've seen that we can set up dedicated workspaces. So if you wanted to work with your peers, for instance, on a professional development course, on a project, on a policy paper, whatever, you could always set up a separate dedicated workspace so that only the stakeholders of that specific project, of that specific initiatives, are included in that workspace. And so you keep your professional communication separate. You don't get everything onto the one channel, but you get it into the respective channel. And that makes communication a lot easier to streamline, for instance, and also then to track back and to search if you need to do that. One of the problems with modern technology, with the use of internet, is email and the abundance or flooding of emails. So if you have too many emails. One issue with email is that emails don't really get answered because you don't see them once you leave work. And maybe that could be an issue. Another issue is the barrier of formality. So if a student has to send you an email, they may feel a bit apprehensive because they need to use a specific tone, a specific format, specific phrases, and it's not as intuitive or as impulsive as, for instance, text message would be. However, if you communicate by text message, you have different issues. You have to share your number. This one you can just send a message, and you don't have the same functionalities that you have on Slack. So what the initial research has shown is that communication actually increases thanks to Slack, because you can access it from wherever you are. You can access it from your mobile phone, whatever time you want, and then it stays there for you to retrieve later if you wish to do so. In fact, I was talking about mobile phones. Compared to the normal LMS you may have, Slack performs a lot better on your mobile phone than any LMS would do. And so that makes it easier as well to access it out of office if you're away. We mentioned it before about class participation with the polls, for instance. So you can use a channel to let students either ask questions or put comments, comment on work presented, and comment on each of the works. And there are quite a few indications that it does actually increase participation. It doesn't reduce it, it doesn't replace it, but it does increase it. Also, what it allows you to do is for students to take notes. And they may take notes on a lecture, on a project, on a presentation. And if they all put it together, really, at the end of it, you have a corpus of some sort of crowdsourcing of notes, for instance. And that helps then learners to also inadvertently exchange the knowledge, to exchange their inputs, their point of view. And so they wouldn't have to come and ask the teacher all the time. They can actually read up what they've written, what the peers have written, and compare notes. And that then naturally becomes a good workplace for project work, because that's in essence what a project is. And the other thing, as I was saying before, it allows you to continue the lesson online. So you do the lesson in the classroom, you can then continue it online seamlessly, because all the information and all the tools that have been used are in that one place. Another useful tool that we have in Slack is the analytics. Now, I'm going to show you where to get it, but I won't be able to show you because my Slack is too young, so it doesn't have any data in there. But what's interesting, you can retrieve data. For instance, here we've got active users, and we see how much has been posted. So you could then go down granularity and see, you know, who's working, who isn't, how much are they working. What day of the week are they working, for instance? You know, you may see that specific days of the week, there's not much work going on. You may want to take care of that. So, okay, that's not a good day for me to give homework. They work a lot better on Mondays and Tuesdays, for instance. Then let's do some activities on those days rather than other days. You may also see the time of the day. And so, you know, again, you may adjust to that. Just if you want to have a look on, there is a tool called Analytics, and if I click on it, it will likely tell me now that there isn't anything to see because this workplace has been up for very little time, so there's not enough activity. Yeah, you see no message has been sent, 4 apps only installed. I thought, yeah, this one is the 5th one. Interesting. And it says in 24 hours, I'll be able to find useful data. So I need to wait a bit longer and let you play on it. And then when I come back, I will see a bit more what's been going on. But this is more or less information you could get. And then depending if you go for paid for solution, you can get a lot more granularity in your analytics, if that's something you'd be interested in. But I think the basic offered here in analytics is the basic offered with the free version would be definitely good enough. Okay, I've given you a bit of an introduction on Slack. So for those of you who've got access to it, I wanted you to go. Are you all familiar with the Snipping Tool?
No.
I find Snipping Tool something very, very interesting. So it comes in standard in Windows. You see, I have it here because I've got it bookmarked really, but if you just type in Snipping Tool, you'll find this app that comes up. And what Snipping Tool allows you to do is to grab an image, any image of the screen that you're looking at. So for instance, I say new, and then this is the image I see. I just cut something off. Yeah, that's the image that I saw, and that's the image I've just taken. I can save it, I can share it, I can copy it. It's already copied. I can paste it into my communication and so forth. And this is a very useful tool if you need to grab images. Say no to this. If you need to grab images and share with somebody else. Actually, I should have tried to keep that. I'll see if I can do it again. So I'll do that. So all I've done now is I used a Snipping Tool, and then I did Control V for paste, because it already automatically copied it on Windows, and that's the picture I saw of myself on my screen that I've just uploaded on the on the Slack on this channel. And what I like about this is very immediate. It's very quick. It's already done. I don't need to copy the image as, save as, download the image. No, it's just snip it out. The size I want. I can use Freeline if I feel inclined to do so. So I can't see properly. Okay, I'm here. Okay. I can email directly. I can have a freeform snip where then, yeah.
One of our teachers asked to. Yeah. Can you read it from the chat? One of our teachers asked to show that again, please. How you copied the image and pasted it?
Sure, I'll do it again. Sure. Okay. So all I do is open Snipping Tool. I say New. And now you see the background has kind of faded. And in mode now, I'm going to choose rectangular snip because that's what I'm good at. And so now I hover with my mouse over the screen what I want to cut. I press my left mouse, so mouse click and keep it pressed. And now this is the area I'm going to snip. And that's all. By doing that, now Snipping Tool shows me what I've snipped out. That's already copied. I don't need to do anything. And I then go onto the message board here again. And what I do is Control V, that's paste. Yeah, I just paste what I've already copied. And then I send that. And I can do that on WhatsApp, I can do that on Skype, I can put it straight into an email. And so it's just immediate the way it goes up. Did that clarify? Was that easier to understand?
Yeah, can I ask you something else about? I was the person who asked the question. I was wondering, since you have added that Snipping Tool, like hashtag Snipping Tool yourself, how did you find it? You said you can find it on your computer somehow, but like how do you find it and how do you edit there? Like you just type it and it works, or what?
Yeah, so Snipping Tool comes as standard.
Thank you, by the way.
No, you're welcome. So Snipping Tool comes as standard with Windows Explorer. It's now been upgraded to something else, but I still like the old version. That's what I'm showing you. So I have bookmarked it here, but on my Windows version, if I go on the Windows symbol and then start typing in Snipping Tool, you see it appears. So it's an app that is always present on Windows.
Okay, and then you have it, like you open it and then you make it, you activate it in your computer and then you add it into Slack, or how does it work?
Yeah. Okay. I'll see what. Okay. So it's in my computer. I can use it whenever I want. Yeah. I don't need to activate it. It's already active. On Slack, I just wanted to talk about it and to show about it, and that's why I've created a channel here. Yeah. The tool doesn't reside on Slack. It resides on my laptop, but I wanted to show you about it. That's why I created a Snipping Tool.
So you can actually use it elsewhere too. Like this is just like a chopping tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Yeah. No, but that's a very good question because it's very important. That's what makes it so powerful. It is immediate. So you use it. I copy and paste straight away into Skype, for instance, or you attach it to a document, or you attach it to an email. So if you have to create a document with lots of images, instead of having to do the copy as, download, upload, you just do snip and then paste, snip and paste. It's so quicker. In fact, if you wanted to give it a try, why don't you snip any image and put it on this channel now, just to see how you do it.
All right, I'll try, but see if it works.
Yeah, anyone, just give it a go. Anybody? No, nobody snipping?
Well, I'm trying to find it. I can't find it yet, but I know what you mean, so I'll give it a try even after the session.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Okay, but I hope it was clear for everyone how this works. And now from here, I want to take you to a different tool which resides outside of Slack, and it's called gifs.com. And so I go on this channel and show you the URL. Now, one thing I like about Slack as well is it can integrate 1,500 apps or so, but it can't integrate all the apps. But if you can't integrate a website, for instance, you can still put the link to it from here. And so we can still share that kind of information. And so I wanted to show you this gifs.com. Yeah. Has anybody, do you all know what a meme is? Yeah. Can I assume everybody knows what a meme is? Just quick yes or no. Yes. That's good. Anyone else? Sort of, yes, no, don't know what a meme is, or yes. Okay. Okay, so just a meme, really what a meme is taking an image, usually it's an iconic image from a film or from a poster, and then adding a short sentence to it that then augments the message of the image or distorts it or creates something new. Sometimes it's witty, sometimes it's meant to be philosophical, and it's something you can then send out. So if we go and do a very quick Google search, memes, I go example of memes. Yeah, that's, yeah, still closed. You've that's different things from different pictures, posters, videos, and so forth. Okay. Now, what I would like you to do then, at the end of this, is for you to create your own meme. So let's go into this website. By the way, it's free to use. We like that, called gifs.com. And gifs.com works by uploading any video, whether it, or you know, from YouTube, Instagram, or Vine, or whatever. And then you can select, or you can upload your own video if you want. And then you select a scene from that video. Okay, so I need to find a useful let me see. Okay, we've got the ads here, but let me see if I need to skip this. I'm here. Okay, so I've taken this. That's okay. I don't need it anymore. I go on gifs.com and I paste the video URL that I just found. Okay. And so it's uploading. And now I want to use this picture from the video. Okay. And I've got this picture and I can now do loads of things with it. I can blur it, for instance. So let's see, it's a bit like that. Yeah, you see now it's not as focused as it was before. I can invert it. No, I don't want to invert it. Doesn't look good. Oh, I can go back. Can do different things. I can flip horizontally. So now it looks the way around. Save that. Now I can also add a caption. Yeah. Don't know. Forgot to buy. Come on. To buy milk. Okay, so that's my meme I just created. Obviously, I can save it. I can create a GIF, or I can also, with my snipping tool, I can take this. If I continue on this, I can now make it public, and then I can post it on the internet if I want to do that. Watermark means it will always show it's made with gifs.com. So if you use it professionally, you don't want that, in which case you go and pay. But if you don't care about it, you don't have to pay. It's free to use. And I now go back to here, and I should be able to upload this. Okay, forgot to buy milk. Silly meme, but it's very easy way to create a meme. Would you like to give it a go? Would you like to go on gifs.com? It's free, by the way. You don't have to put passwords or anything. You just go in, gifs.com, search for a video or an image you want to upload, and put a caption in there, and that would have been your first ever meme, unless you've already made memes before. Yeah, and then we upload it here. Yeah, so I got a message here, disadvantage that the application is in English. Yes, unfortunately, the majority of applications will always be in English. And that's another issue with the free or freemium tools. They're not as localized as paid for products. So if you go in the Google Suite, if you go in the Microsoft line, everything will be localized, but there's a price to pay. The advantage of free tools is you don't have to pay. The disadvantage is there are some limitations. Zoom being the problem being in English, yeah, I think that's what you mentioned there. Yeah. That's one of the limitations. Yeah, and Zoom has a safety issue as well, as we found out recently. Yeah. Apologies, I just need to think a bit of water. Can I just check? Are you trying to create a meme? Are people working on gifs.com? Not getting any feedback. Happy to continue, or happy to let you work a bit, play a bit with GIFs if you prefer. Just let me know.
I think we can continue.
We continue. Okay, fine. So for instance, as a next step, once you've created your meme or memes, something else you could do with it is you could go on something called Canva.com. Yeah, Canva.com again is freemium offer that allows you to design most presentations, storyboards, and so forth. Let me. Okay, you don't have to pay for Canva, but again, it's a freemium opportunity, so you can upgrade and get the pro version, which we don't want to. And so let's see, if I say storyboard, I want a storyboard. And then I can create my own storyboard. Yeah. And this is useful for activities around digital storytelling, for instance. And so let's see, this is a template I'm now using. And what the template allows me to do is to upload my own picture. I can edit it and then put in the text I want and create my own storyboard. So now I have to save this image because Canva works differently. And I forgot to buy milk. Save it here. Close you. So I'm now going to grab this picture. Forgot to buy milk. I drag and drop it here. I need to adjust the cropping so that we can see what it says. And underneath, I can then add the text, and that way I can create my own storyboard. Yeah? So if you are into digital storytelling, you see with a simple tool like Snippet, you can start taking lots of pictures. You go into a bit more sophisticated tool like Canva.com, and you can create lots of different things, not just storyboards, but a good example for digital storytelling. Yeah. Obviously, you can then also share this. That's an interesting thing, by the way. You can share it, and that would be something like a learning outcome you can then present in the classroom. Okay, let's go to different tools then. And again, if you create something on with Gifts.com, Canva, just feel free to put it here on this channel even afterwards, after our presentation. Let's see, Animoto. And unless you tell me otherwise, I'm assuming that you don't know Animoto. If you know Animoto, just let me know. There's no need to go into much detail. Animoto allows you to turn a presentation into a video. Really, that's what it does. Again, this is a freemium. Yeah, this is some pricing. I've tried the free version, and I think the free version is quite good. So what I'll do is I go and say, well, I want to create a presentation. And the nice thing here is if I start from scratch the first few times, I may not really know what to do, but there's quite a lot of templates. Yeah. So let's say I want to have a weekly newsletter, and this is the template. Okay, so you see the music in the background, you see the animated images. So let's use this as a template. Still loading, so I have to wait a bit. Okay, and here we are. And so I'm going now to edit. You see here on the right, I'm going to edit the text. Let's say, what do we say? Virtual tools in physical classrooms. 6 steps. Okay, I can save that. I can also preview it. And now it continues with the I could obviously change the pictures. I could upload my own video here, and then have that playing in the background. And do the same for all of the slides. I can add slides. Animoto also allows you to upload images from stock. Yeah, some may be free, some may not be free, but you get the idea. Hopefully, you can, in that sense, spice up your presentation if you want. It's not just a static presentation anymore, but it is an animated presentation with some music in the background you can choose and so forth. Again, you mentioned somewhere about the watermark here. Yeah. So if you have the free version, it will say it's been done with Animoto. If you want to do it professionally, that's not nice, but I think for school purposes, that's plenty. We're talking about images, get images stock. In case you need, what is it? We had all free stock. Yeah, in case you're interested in getting images and videos and stuff to use in Classroom that are free, this is the site to go to. Yeah, allthefreestock.com. You get sound effects, videos, icons, and you can, let me see, yeah, like food pictures if you want to see some food pictures. This is an example, and these are all images you can then, strange comes on the food, all images you can then upload and use for presentation. So you've got a stacked ton of images, videos, sounds and stuff you can use for free without worrying about copyright and so forth. And for any presentation you want to do, that may be useful to have. Not sure why this comes on the foodie factor, but these are the kind of things you can use. Again, if you want to do some digital storytelling, if you want to do a special presentation and so forth, that'd be useful to do. So we had a look at the storyboard on Canva, which was static. We had a look at gifs.com that helps us to get some static images. We had a look at Animoto, which I think is a very useful, powerful way to create good presentations. I also wanted to show you something a bit more complicated called ThingLink. And this really, I would say, is a bit for older students. Again, it says pricing here, but you have to, for classroom learning, I went with the free version, and I don't need to pay. So let's go on create, explore. Let me go. Is it explore? Yeah. So you see an example here. This, I believe, is an example of a school in England. And you see what it is some sort of video, 360 video that's been uploaded. And then I can add some links to it. So if I click on E, I enter through the door, and then I get to the next stage. And I can turn to the right here if I want, following the arrows. Let me open this door here. You see, there's I presume this is a classroom, so let's go into this classroom. Or yet another door. Okay, so here I'm in a classroom. So this is a way, for instance, how we can present our own school, our own classroom, and create a video. And most of this has been created by students, by the way, but it doesn't have to be. There's lots of professional creation as well. This is a message. Okay, so you get the concept here. You can use it, for instance, to present your own school, and then teachers can post messages, pupils can post messages. It's just a welcome video. Let me see something basic. Oh yes, this this is from a German school. So there's blood sugar in the body. It's a very simple graphic, and at every station you can have sound, you could have video. In this case, they only have text. and it tells you about the consumption of sugar, for instance. Yeah. And then the next step, it will tell you what impact it has on the blood sugar level, and so forth. It goes through the whole metabolism, yeah, and explains it. And this is a different way of illustrating the same concept, the same image. Obviously, work on imagery as well as on text. You could also work with video, with sound, and so forth. In fact, there was an interesting video. This is a lake. Oh yeah, let's see the Cappadocia, what they've done here. Okay, so this is a 360 video, obviously, but they haven't added any link. I can't see any link. What you could do, you see the symbol here. You could also see that in virtual reality, so 3D, basically, if you had specific goggles on you. This is just a video now I can see, but they haven't added any links. You could add any links on specific rocks, for instance, and talk about the rock formation. You could have a link on the shade of this person, the shadow, and specify who that is, and so forth. You could have a link showing which direction you're looking. Yeah, so you could enrich it by adding information to it. So it's not just uploading the video, but you enrich it by adding information. Okay, so there's another interesting way of how you can present information and create something interactive and that, that we're saying at the beginning, engages all senses. So it's not just reading or seeing, but you can also hear, you can explore and click through and go around and see more in depth. Okay, so that was ThingLink. Let's see, another tool that I've mentioned here that may be of interest to you is if we want to check for understanding, if we want to kind of assess knowledge, or if we want to review knowledge. Let's have a quick look at Quizlet.com. Quizlet allows you to create, among other things, flashcards. And I just wanted to give you an example of some flashcards. Let's say we go English. Vocabulary. Sophisticated vocabulary. Okay, so as an example, and this is a flashcard that's been created, and you have all the terminology, what's abhorrent, what's cacophony, ominous, and so forth. I can go back. Now, on each flashcard, I can click on it, and behind it, I get the explanation of the term. And I can go to the next one, cacophony, what is it? It's about bad music. Yeah, ominous, yeah, know this. Yeah. And that's the kind of exercises you can create, and you can create for your students, or you can ask your students to create, which is another way for them to show that they've learned what you're trying to teach. So this basically were virtual flashcards that you can integrate in your classroom. One of the advantages, obviously, is that because it's online, they can take them anywhere, and they can others can access them too. Okay. Are there any questions so far? Any new questions, additional questions? I see two. Okay, so the question is, can we use quiz like Kahoot? Yes, so I presume most of you knew Kahoot. That's why I didn't go into Kahoot. You can use Quizlet as well to prepare quizzes in different formats. And you can also use other apps like I showed before. Poly would be one where you can do that as well. Yeah. Kahoot, what I like about Kahoot is that this online community, there's really lots of content coming on, and they have specific specific apps to it as well. I'm not sure you're all aware of that, but I think we're running out of time to go into the Kahoot apps. But yes, Quizlet does something similar. And the previous question was, can we learn your 21st century education preference? I'm not sure I understand this question completely.
I think she may be asking, what is your favorite app?
Okay, my favorite app of all the apps. Oh, I don't know whether I've got a favorite app because I use several. In terms of impact per, the added value compared to what it takes to use, Snipping Tool for me, what's great about it is that it can be really powerful, and it doesn't take anything to prepare. It's very easy. So anything like that is something I really like. I like Kahoot, for instance. I like Kahoot because it's very entertaining. I like this Padlet. There was another version of something similar of Padlet called Linoid.com, but Linoid was completely free. It wasn't free, it was completely free. And one of the downsides was that it wasn't updated, it wasn't maintained. So if you look at it now, Linoid.com looks really outdated. But Padlet is something I like very much because it allows you to collaborate in different ways, and you can, it's like a scrapbook. You just keep adding information there, whether it's video, whether it's sound, whether it's text. And it's for everybody to see and share, and from that, it's very powerful from that point of view, and I definitely like that. It's difficult for me to say which one is my favorite, but I look at tools that are easy to use, that are ideally free, and that bring some added value. Yes, well, I think if we'd love to do another meeting. There was another question here. I would love to have time, and maybe if there's some feedback as to what is your preferred option, what is your preferred tool, we could have maybe a focus session on that. Obviously, a tool I like obviously is Slack, and I wanted to introduce you to Slack, and I hope that I managed to give you a few ideas of what Slack can do in the classroom for you.
Dany, most of us know the Web 2 tools and we use actively, but also they mention about the Web 4 tools. What are the main differences between Web 2 and Web 4 tools?
So Web 2, as far as I know, Web 2 was kind of an official definition. The Web 2, Web 4 have been definitions I've made up, but the more you enrich the application, the higher up it will go. Now, what is Web 3, Web 4? I wouldn't be able to say, and I don't know whether there is a complete agreement on that. But once you have aspects such as augmented reality, virtual reality, you have artificial intelligence built in. You have data coming in from Internet of Things, for instance. The more of that you add, the higher up you go into the scale. So you would have an application, for instance, where I sat on a prototype of an application. It's like going on the fairground, you go on the roller coaster. So it was one of those chairs, and I had virtual reality goggles on. So it was full immersive. And so if you turn your head left, you see what you would see if you turned your head left in that area. And it was the video I was in was a virtual laboratory. So it was a research and production center for microchips. So you basically went into you felt you were in a car, and you had been taken around the factory, and you would look around and you would see all the different machineries, all the different ingredients, all the different people working there as you looked around. And I found that really powerful. Because it was very immersive. So that's an application you may call Web 4.0, Web 5.0, I don't know, but it's the more layers of interactivity, of full immersion, of artificial intelligence you add, the higher up you go. Does that somehow answer your question as well?
Thanks. Any questions?
Dany, normally we prepare a Padlet for teachers to write their comments about the webinar. But today, I think you have a Padlet page, so we didn't prepare another page. So if you can add a column and say comments we can
Okay.
say that our teachers can comment there.
I'm just doing it now live. You may be able to see it. Okay, just done that.
Yeah.
Comments. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't add comments before because I was hoping that you put all the comments depending on those category. But just feel free, any ideas of tools or how to use them, any questions you have, any tips and hints, and any of the comments, just put them here because it's useful for us to know, what is required, what works, and so forth. And I believe, Senna, you did share the link of the Padlet. Is that correct?
Yes. And
Okay.
we have two comments here about the webinar. Our teacher says thanks for all the links and info. We really appreciate it. Maybe another meeting for even more if you have time.
Yeah. I would have time, yeah, but maybe a bit more focused, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And also they say thanks for all the info. I think it was a really useful seminar. Personally, I learned a lot of things. I didn't even know about the Slack, and now I know a lot of applications, and I didn't know the spinning tool, and now it's on my page, and actually I need to use it every day, but I use more complicated steps to reach that aim.
Yeah.
So it's very useful, I think. I think there is no other questions. Our teachers, we wait for your comments, and if you have any questions, you can also write your questions in the Padlet page. Also, I think Slack page will be open after this seminar, right?
That's correct, yeah. So please make use of it, send messages, install it on your laptop, on your mobile phone if you want. Yeah. And the presentation is obviously live, is still on the Padlet. So sorry, on the Padlet, on the Slack. So if you go on the channel online tools in the physical classroom, you will see the presentation there, stays there.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and sharing your information with us. It was really useful, helpful, and we learned a lot of things. I hope we can see you again later.
Thank you, Dany.
I'm glad I could help, and thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.